please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members present are Mr. Bob Belden, Selectman, and Steve Dunn, First Selectman. Ms. Carr is not available for this evening. She's on a trip. Public comment. Does anybody wish to make public comment?
Yes, Sarah Jo Banks.
Who?
Sarah Jo. Hello.
Is there a place you need them for the camera?
No.
Okay.
That's fine.
What?
Hello, my name is Sarah Jo Banks, and I'm a resident of Brookfield. I live at 1900, and I also live 1900 feet from the compressor station, same as the middle school. On my property, I have a hobby farm, where I grow some of the food that we eat, and my family spends a lot of our time tending to the land and enjoying the land. We breathe that air every day, inside and outside of our home. Again, that home that's situated on a hill, a beautiful hill right above Brookfield Middle School. I also recently developed a rare and aggressive form of cancer. It was found and I was diagnosed at stage 4. I was diagnosed 6 months after hitting my 3-year mark after moving to Brookfield. It's funny because that's how long the middle schoolers are at their school. I'm not saying that this is directly connected to the toxins that are constantly being put out by the compressor station that exists. I don't have a medical degree, nor do I have a research degree. I leave that to the experts. Like the experts that Brookfield desperately needs, as there has been very little research to see what those toxins are and at what level they're being expelled at our station. The last time I spoke to this board against this station, I spoke to the numerous explosions, fires, and hazardous pollution toxic spills that these stations have caused. Those are well documented. I now come and I beg to you for the town to demand learning about those undocumented toxins that we're receiving. You may also remember the last time I was at this board, I was very pregnant. I now have a 1-year-old son, and I fear for his long-term health. I have fear for the children of Brookfield's long-term health, sitting that close every day for years next to the compressor station, and the more that they want to come. The new proposal, I believe, has a 70-foot stack. This, I believe, is because they need to have a larger displacement of those toxins higher in the atmosphere. I can hear the current stacks release at my home. What about that current existing 30-foot stack? What are those toxins going 40 feet lower than now is being considered safe? When was the last testing of the existing stack? These new permits don't even require testing of air quality around the school and neighborhood. However, our concerns as a town need to not only be with the stacks, but the toxins released by the turbines. These are not 30 to 70 feet in the air. These toxins don't get quickly dispersed. The turbines run 24 hours a day, unmanned. No one is manning this station. Will there be staff at these new multiple stations? How much more danger does that bring to Brookfield? The pollutants released by the turbines are lower in the atmosphere and often stay trapped in nearby neighborhoods. These can be trapped in our homes, particularly in months when we are running an AC and it doesn't filter them out in condensed levels. Are there studies on that? We deserve a hearing as a town. We need the BOS to petition for a hearing, and this petition needs to go in now. It was over a year ago I last came to this board to speak of your immediate action. Brookfield having a voice is crucial in this, and that has to include not just our leaders' voices, but as a town, hiring the proper attorneys and experts. I have a second ask, for the board to have better communication with those dedicated Brookfield citizens that are working hard to stop this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam?
Good evening, Pam Grass, Tuco Road. I have a few comments on the Iroquois compressors and update a little bit. First, thanks for requesting the time extension and making the signature page, which I think is over there, available for the residents. As we all know, nobody wants these compressors. Over the objection of Iroquois, we were only granted a 15-day extension, which runs until September 16th. That's the time we have to file both petitions and comments. It benefits the effort to get in as many opposition comments as possible. The letters you've sent and any other comments that are submitted during the comment period before it closes must be responded to by DEEP in this process. Therefore, resubmitting the letters that you sent is important. I've left each of you, or I gave them to Steve, comments that can be included in letters and emails that can be sent by residents. They were general comments put together by a group of people. I urge you to make these available to anyone that asks about what they can do. And I have extra copies with me if anybody in the room wants to send in something. Other groups are going to get these comments via social media around town. As to process, I also left you an outline for you that describes the process for an adjudicatory hearing. It was put together by some attorneys. I hope it's helpful. I also hope that you spend the time that's needed to put together a compelling petition, and we're happy to coordinate. Last week, it was confirmed that one NGO, Save the Sound, will be filing as well. Although they do not represent any of us, they are providing us with guidance, and they have a group of attorneys working on this. Sierra Club of Connecticut is providing a highly qualified expert that can provide highly technical scrutiny of both DEEP's work and Iroquois' work. So please keep us informed of any steps where we can assist with input or research. We have these people that are working with us and pretty much at our disposal. It's our desire to make some complementing petitions from different groups. After the petitions are filed and hopefully accepted, that's when the intervener filing occurs. So that's the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eileen. Hi, Irene Correa, 45 West Viscina Road. I'm here tonight to discuss the solar projects at Brookfield Schools. My concerns are as follows. 1, the town paid $78 million for CLES. Part of that cost was to have the roof solar ready. For a solar ready roof, the town should have a larger payout at CLES than WMS. Titan and Verigy will benefit from our town's infrastructure investment. The payout should not be the same for CLES and WMS. Number 2, the Titan representative admitted that they did not know about the abandoned septic system below the BHS parking lot. 3, Titan mentioned that the parking lot would have to be repaved. Who is repaving the parking lot? The 10-year capital plan for schools does not include any paving at BHS. I did not find any meaningful number 4. I did not find any meaningful minutes or letters from the Energy Commission regarding their opinion on this solar project. The Selectmen spoke at the BOE meeting and stated that Richfield High School had these canopies for 5 years. That is not true. Anyone could search Richfield High School solar panels on the internet and read that the News Times article stated that the structures were installed in the summer of 2024. The high school not only went through one winter with the panels, it was a mild winter. The statement of they just throw down more salt is not a sufficient response for ice dams and snow buildup. I bet that Richfield High School does not have curtain drainage like BHS. The water pooling and refreezing with shadow coverage at parking spots means more manpower for salt spreading, salt runoff, and the possibility of slip and fall. In conclusion, CLES is worth it, but the town should have a better rate. WMS is worth it if the town can figure out the roof replacement. BHS needs further review, and the town should vote if they would like to look at canopies along Middle Hill Road for 20 years. You would be obstructing a gorgeous view of Bridgewater. Many residents didn't want to look at a cell tower. I don't think they want to look at solar canopies either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much, Mr. First Selectman, Mr. Selectman, for allowing me to speak tonight. I am here in 1,000% opposition to the solar panels, and I'd like to take a minute and explain why. In general, I don't think there's a problem with solar and the savings that you get from it. But anybody that's done a little bit of homework on solar knows that it's much better down south in the southwest and in the west, not in the northeast where we have winters. We have 4 to 4.5 months of winter time, so you're going to get approximately a 40% loss in whatever gains that you're going to have. That's number one. The biggest red flags, and there's a few of them that came to my attention, were there wasn't any information sharing done with the Energy Advisory Commission. They are experts. They have a very smart group of people on there that they know the industry, not just solar, but the whole industry, very, very well. And nobody's consulted with them at all. And they were told that they were going to be consulted with in the beginning, and it wasn't. They also wrote a letter stating that, and they had some problems with the numbers. My next red flag, I watched the Board of Selectmen's meeting with the, the Board of Finance meeting where they were going over and doing the presentation. Now, the Board of Finance, and this is my opinion, has 6 absolute financial geniuses on it. They're all ripping smart. And they had questions with the numbers on this. And there was no answers. They even asked questions on the contracts and nobody wanted to share that information with them. So that's another red flag that came up. The next red flag is, and I live on Long Meadow Hill Road, so I have safety concerns with this and also property value concerns with it. Long Meadow Hill Road is called Long Meadow Hill Road for a reason. It's on a long hill in a ridge line. And I've lived here on Long Meadow since 1994. And anytime you got thunder boomers and lightning storms that are coming down, it's hitting the trees, it's hitting houses or whatever. So you're putting a steel, aluminum, and electronic structure up over the entire parking lot of the school. In my opinion, is going to be a lightning magnet. So what happens if there's kids underneath or a lightning storm comes or something like that? So there's a safety issue there. Next, I understand that you spoke about the snow buildup on top, and I'm talking about the high school right now. The snow buildup, but it's going to melt. Yeah, it's going to melt. The solar panels are black and it's going to melt. It's going to go somewhere. But when that melts and it's warm, it melts, it goes down, and it's cold outside, it's going to refreeze at all different spots underneath that canopy because it's a huge parking lot. What if the kids are walking in there and God forbid somebody slips or falls or there's ice underneath the tire and they get in a car accident, somebody gets hurt? So I have a major safety concern about that. And last, I'll be quick here, is the property values. Let's face it, if you look at a big, huge, that size of that parking lot, I don't know the thousands of square feet there, but if you look at that, you're driving by it, besides the views and stuff, it's an ugly, disgusting structure. So everybody that lives on Long Meadow Hill Road and all the property off of Long Meadow Hill Road, we're gonna have to drive up and down and buy that, and they're gonna lose value in their homes. So that's it, and then the septic system underneath that nobody apparently knew about until they talked to the building committee on it. So I have an issue there. It doesn't seem like it's transparent, and I don't see what the rush is. I think it should be well thought out. I think you should think about it, table it, let everybody voice their concerns, bring it to the people of Brookfield, and let them decide. That's my opinion. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Evans, please.
Hi.
And you're out? You're running for office and you're out?
He's going down to another meeting that's downstairs.
I'm here this evening to speak about the solar project the town is currently considering. While I understand this project may have been in the works for some time, it has only become very public recently. When it came to the Board of Education, I voted no, and I want to explain why. My decision was not based on opposition for solar. In fact, I fully support efforts to go green and save money for the town. But this project, as presented, raises too many red flags and unanswered questions. It also lacked transparency and coordination that a project this size deserves. One of the serious concerns was the discovery of an abandoned septic tank under the student parking lot in a municipal building meeting that I attended. When this came up in the meeting, the Titan Energy representative who was attending remotely said that this was the first time he was hearing of it. It's a basic site issue that should have been identified early and made me question how thoroughly this project has been reviewed. Additionally, when Mr. Hoffman raised valid contractual concerns during a Board of Finance meeting, he was told those matters were for the first Selectman's office. That may technically be true, but it's not how good process works. For this project, this important, we should be involving the Municipal Building Committee, the Energy Advisory Board, and the Board of Finance. People with the right expertise and oversight responsibilities. Having these groups fully aware and on board in an agreement is the best way to move forward. We also didn't receive confirmation that the town attorney had reviewed or approved the contract before it was presented to the boards for approval. That's another step that should be standard, not optional. When I asked Whether this was an all or nothing deal, I was told it was not. Yet we were asked to vote on a package deal without the ability to consider each school site independently. That doesn't sit well with me. Let me be clear. I'm never someone who rubber stamps a project. And in that case, I felt that's exactly this. I felt that being asked to support something without having all the facts was exactly that, a rubber stamp. That's not how responsible governance works. We owe it to our students, our taxpayers, and our residents to ask tough questions, demand transparency, and encourage that decisions are made with full information and proper oversight. Now, there's a real opportunity here. If we coordinate roof repairs sooner than scheduled, we can move forward in installing solar on all roofs, all school roofs. Done right, done once, and without cutting corners. This should reduce our energy costs, lower our carbon footprint, and benefit our entire community. But we have to do it responsibly. One alternative being discussed is a solar canopy at the high school, since the roof is not currently suitable for panels. While I appreciate the creativity in exploring that solution, I have real concerns about the potential impact on surrounding property values. That neighborhood is already dealing with property value challenges due to the cell tower project, which the town voted down and is now proceeding on private land. We should not add another large-scale structure to that community without fully understanding the consequences. We can go green, we can save money, but we can do it without compromising our neighborhoods or rushing through incomplete plans. Let's bring the right people into the conversation. Let's ask the right questions. Let's make sure we're doing this with clarity, transparency, and long-term thinking. And with the Energy Advisory Board, the Board of Finance, and the Municipal Building Committee all on board and in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Carl Hanger. Good evening. I want to state that while I'm not opposed to the solar panel project, and I support and believe we can find common ground in the objective of saving the town money, I believe the matter is being unnecessarily rushed. The Energy Advisory Board has expressed their concern to you that they were not properly included on this project and have unanswered questions and concerns regarding the projected savings. This is now the second time this month that this administration has attempted to bring a matter to vote while leaving important parties uninformed. The first being the August 4th meeting in which the Board of Selectmen had on their agenda a vote on a fire commission ordinance, which was only stopped when a room full of firemen said they had not been given proper time to review the ordinance. Now again, we find the Board of Selectmen attempting to rush through a project, this time without consulting the town's Energy Advisory Board. The members of this administration tout their unparalleled years of experience, but that should not preclude them from ensuring that all relevant groups are consulted and all voices are heard before making hasty decisions. Thank you.
That's it, okay. Thank you for the public comment,
Hand is out.
and we're gonna move on. Bob, do you wanna make a motion? Because we're gonna hold it. I'd like to make a motion. We have Fred Hurley, who's the Director of Public Works for the town of Newtown, and he's on Zoom with us, and we don't want to keep him and our other people here longer than we have to, because he's kind enough to join us. Fred, can you hear me?
Make the motion.
I know, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Great, thank you. I would make a motion that we move item 6A to
Or next time.
right now.
I'll
Do
second.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're gonna move on, and I think, should I make the motion first and then have a discussion? I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the town hiring Verigy Solar to build and maintain solar facilities for the 3 separate solar projects at Brookfield High School parking lot, Kenwood Lake Elementary School, and Wisconsin School, and to apply for available grants in conjunction with the projects, and authorize the first selectman, after obtaining legal review, to sign all documentation needed on behalf of the town for any or all of the projects. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's have a discussion. Fred, would you tell us a little bit about your background and history as the Director of Public Works and work you've done on solar, just so we can vet your background? Can we turn him up a little bit? Yep. Can you hold on one sec? Wait a minute, Fred, we can barely hear you. Can you hold on one sec? This one's. Turned on here. All the way. No, not yet, just barely.
It's at 100.
This doesn't sound like it's on.
Is it that one? Yeah, it's that one. Try now.
That's music.
Try what?
Sometimes if you try under more, there's like a setting
There we go,
underneath.
okay. Okay, Fred, you want to try again? Oh, wait a minute.
No.
Try it. It's not connected. All right, wait a minute, Fred.
1 second, Fred, 1 second. Sorry.
I'm gonna go to the Board of Ed meeting sometime soon.
If we have to,
It has to be the Logitech one.
if it doesn't work, we can have Fred call in on the phone.
Try now.
It's not working. Yeah, we're still having trouble. It's only coming through this little, this thing.
No, this is to see it. This is the speaker. I don't know why the speaker's not
Okay.
working.
Is it doing that if I speak? Can you hear me clearly?
Just barely also. You're better.
I think I can hear Adam clearly here.
Why does this keep turning down?
It's something to do with the speaker in the room, guys.
It's a speaker in the room, it's not you guys.
Okay.
What do you want me to try to?
No, I don't.
You want to try to say something, Fred, see if we got any better?
One,
No.
two, three, four.
No. Why don't we just,
That phone doesn't work.
what?
That phone doesn't work.
The phone doesn't work? Oh, man. Then put it on the speaker for this,
That's what you're hearing.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Let me try to.
Can we try this in a different? Okay. This should be, I don't know why it's not working. What is this, a
No,
microphone?
that's
No,
connects
so
the,
that
that's the
we
file
can-
for
you
up
can
here.
see it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fred, you want to try to say something again?
Sure. How's everybody up there today?
Not good, because we can barely hear you.
Okay. I'll keep talking if you want to keep trying to modulate something.
Yeah.
See if it changes.
Yeah, why don't you do that? I'm gonna see if I can steal Marcia's.
I'm just trying to grab a few things here. The new town program is 15 years old. Approaching 9 megawatts total solar that we've installed.
Okay, hold on a second.
Okay. All right, I'll keep talking a little bit. Just so you know whether I can hear me. And I'm sure we'll figure this thing out.
This one.
Hello, hello, hello.
There you go.
Try it.
Say something.
Say
Fred?
something. Go ahead and say something.
Oh,
One,
perfect.
two,
We got
three,
it.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Yay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, we
good,
got you.
it's good.
We got you now. We just gotta get Steve. We just have to get Steve.
We all set?
No, we're waiting for Steve.
Okay.
I still hear that a little bit of crackling.
Okay.
If you guys can hear clearly, that's fine. I just,
Yeah, Adam, you're clear to me.
that
Yeah.
might-
Yeah,
Okay.
you're absolutely clear.
And you guys can hear us?
Yeah, we can hear each other fine.
Okay, we can hear you pretty well now, so apologize for the technical.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and shorten this up.
Go ahead,
Usually
Fred.
when I do a presentation like this, I'm on for an hour, so I don't think you wanna listen to everything. The program in Newtown is about 15 years old for solar. We're approaching 9 megawatts, which is more than 100% of all the public utilization of electricity in Newtown. In fact, when we finish the current high school project we're doing, we'll be at 113%. So we've been at this solar game for a very, very long time, and we've done 3 major types of programs. We've done virtual net metering, there's you can have a 1 or 2 megawatt field somewhere, and then your buildings in town are the official offtake. That's one way of doing it. That's indirect solar. We've done direct solar where we've had it on the buildings, and it's provided direct electricity in the building. And we've also done the buy-all program, which you're looking at now, and we also are utilizing it. The difference between the programs is basically whether there's credit on the electric bill, whether there's a reduction of use of kilowatt hours, or you get a direct payment. We chose the direct payment process for the buy-all projects that we're doing. To be very specific, or more specific to what Brookfield is doing right now, we have done 2 rounds of the buy-all program with very similar kinds of buildings. And I think what's important is that the competitive bid results in our 2 rounds are virtually identical to the same results that you had in Brookfield. So when I was asked to take a look or evaluate the proposals, I was positive because I felt the pricing that was in there was very competitive. So I think that's the good news, that the numbers at least, as being presented, are competitive with other projects that have been done in other towns here in the state. The other thing I looked at was the pedigree of the people that were involved. We're very familiar with a lot of the different companies in the state. We've used 7 different companies ourselves for different projects. We were familiar with your consultant, Titan. The only reason we didn't use them is we already had another consultant on board, Solomon Energy, that we had been working with for almost a dozen years. So we did, when I looked at my analysis of your projects, I found consistency in pricing and good pedigree on the participants that were involved. A little bit of my background, I go back in solar back to the 1970s. When solar thermal was the rage at that time, there really wasn't photovoltaic on a commercial scale. And in fact, the first solar project I did was at Massac High School. We did a solar thermal project to preheat the water for the pool. And that was really a simple payback, less than 10 years. That was my first solar project, and I've done obviously a lot since then. I've also been involved with the state. I did a lot of consulting with the state. We analyzed 100 different public housing projects around Connecticut for energy conservation. That was one of our projects. So I've been involved in it for a long time. I've been in Newtowns for 36 years, and I've tried to bring that expertise to Newtown, and I think we've been relatively successful with that. The other thing I think I would want to do is clarify the current programs that are going on, the buy-all program. We have tried to stay, and buy-all is one of the reasons we went that way. We have tried to stay away from ownership of the systems. The only system that I actually owned was the first one that we did at the wastewater treatment plant, which was about 12, 13 years ago. It was a program called Distributed Generation. That program didn't last very long. We had to put up quite a bit of money. We eventually did break even on the project, but I swore I would never do that again. So everything since then has been the equivalent of a power purchase agreement, where the developers put up all the money, they take all the risk, and we take some of the benefit. And that's been our approach for the last 12 years on all of our projects, whether it was direct solar, whether it was indirect solar, whether it was virtual net metering. It's worked very well for us. We have had somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 to $27 million worth of investment in the various projects that we've done, and the town taxpayers have not had to put up a penny. And we're getting back between $750,000 and $800,000 a year back to the taxpayer. So it's been a huge hit for us. It's going very, very well. I can't say enough good things about it, not just because it was my program, but because the results for the benefit of the taxpayers were, I think, would stand alone as to the benefit. Any specific questions or anything somebody would like me to explain more?
Do you have any specific questions?
So one of the questions I had was, and we heard it in the public comment this evening, was when your experience of negotiating or establishing these contracts, do you find there's room for negotiation on the rates that the town is getting with the provider?
I mean, there can be. It depends on the circumstances that you're bidding. If you've been in a competitive bid process, the numbers, the basic number is pretty well set. What you can negotiate, and what we did do, is we put various provisions in there. I heard, for example, during your comment period, that there was concern about snow. One of the things that we did, two things really, is in addition to requiring snow guards, obviously, when they were needed, but we also required them, for example, to be available as consultants if we had a heavy snowstorm and we needed to remove snow because of a structural declaration on the part of our local building official. So there are some things that you can build into it that are not really costly. We didn't expect those, and we don't expect those developers to actually show up and shovel the snow, but we do want consultation to make sure that whatever snow removal we're doing isn't going to damage the system. Bad for us and bad for them. That was negotiable. And there's other pieces of it that can be negotiated as well. How you set the terms up can be negotiated. How you set up the terms in terms of whether you have flat fees or no, it was a flat fee, we're getting paid annually the same amount, which is what we're doing on our current bylaw, or if you have sliding scales. So I'm not going to say that there's a one-size-fit-all. We probably use 4 or 5 different forms of contracts depending on who we were bidding with. We had different contracts with the Green Bank that had outside investors like Onyx Bank on a particular project. There we had to take responsibility for a traffic light which got its power from a local school. Because the bank was concerned that if anything ever happened at the traffic light, that they'd be sued because their solar field is what actually knocked the traffic light out. I mean, it sounds absurd, and it was, but I mean, that's the sort of thing we just agreed to. We said, fine, we'll take the responsibility. So, yeah, there can be a lot of different little items that can be talked about and negotiated. Some of them can't be, and one of them is that once you've really set a public set price, you're going to have to work around that. Unless you can find an act of God, or you can find a technical fault or something that is outside of the bidding process. That's the value of the public bid, is that you lock in a price that is transparent. The other thing is that you've locked yourself in. So that's kind of the way I view that.
Yeah, and I would think that we've got 4 very reputable companies who bid on this very aggressively, and Verigy was clearly the winner after we did the analysis. And Titan has done a good job of doing that analysis for us.
Yeah, let me just add this. The point is well taken. We had the same experience with the 2 rounds of bidding that we did. We had very good companies came in, and the pricing was very competitive. So it's a pretty good indication that you've got a good number. If the dollar figures were way wide and all over the place, it means that at least 1 or more of the bidders didn't understand the project.
Right.
But we had the same experience you did, which was that the bidding pricing was very close, very competitive.
Yeah. Great. One of the other things, Fred, you and I, when we discussed this, asking to put a floor or a minimum that Verigy would guarantee the town. We think that's a good incentive for them to keep the equipment up and running properly, and I think that's a reasonable request. Do you think so?
Yeah, to me, it's really almost the only way to go, because the way you need to look at these things is you don't want the responsibility at all for maintaining the equipment. You want it that the only way that they're going to make money is if they maintain it and they get production. The last thing you want to do is get tied into service contracts at your end. I think that anything you can do on a fixed price really kind of forces them to do a good job. The other point on fixed pricing, if you can get it, is that over time, people say, well, why don't we put an escalator in? Well, if you get a fixed price over time, you get a reverse escalator, because the facility itself, over time, will lose some capacity to produce energy.
Right.
So if you've got fixed pricing, that really overcomes that. And it also overcomes the argument of escalator.
Yeah. And there are a lot of risks in buying and building a system yourself. With the incentives going away next July, I would think the number of companies who would be interested in maintaining this equipment for us is gonna go down substantially, because without the incentives, these projects don't make sense. Would you agree?
Yeah, in fact, Steve, they announced tonight, I guess, that PosiGen is going out of business. They do mostly residential. That was a huge company. Going back to our own experience here, we've always had trouble getting somebody to service the small direct system that we own down at our wastewater treatment plant. That was a continuing burr, for the last 15 years. And that's why I said I swore I'd never get involved in that again. You're going to see a lot of companies are going to disappear simply because the incentives are going to disappear. Some of them are going to survive because solar by itself actually can be sustainable. It won't have all the subsidy that oil and gas does, but on a break-even basis, there's still room for solar. In fact, we're still planning on a big solar project at a brownfield where we're going to try and revitalize a community solar system. And we recognize that the incentives that we would like to have at that time probably aren't going to be there, but there's still a way to structure that deal financially to make that happen. So we think that some of these bigger solar projects are going to exist, because at the end of the day, these are really, it's banking decisions and money decisions that decide whether or not these projects make any sense. So we're still optimistic that some things can be done. It's just going to be more, it's going to have to be more clever, you're going to have to be smarter, and just work a better deal out going forward.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Fred, we want to thank you very much. You've added a lot to this conversation. If it's all right with you, we'll continue to consult with you as kind of our independent third-party expert on this. It's new for Brookfield. We feel that we have between Adam and Titan and Verigy, two really good companies that have vetted this project for us and are willing to move forward. I would note that all of the risks in these projects, the maintenance, the installation, the decommissioning, the inverters, if anything goes wrong, it's Verigy's issue. And they have an incentive to keep the equipment up and running properly because they make more money the more the system operates. Okay.
If I could add one more
Sure.
thing, I won't mention the name of the city or the town, but there was, one of the towns did not get themselves a very good contract. The inverters on the system went down. They couldn't find the replacement inverters, and that particular city lost 4 months of income because their system couldn't work. That's the other reason why you want good, reputable companies that are going to be able to maintain these systems going forward. And many of these systems have different inverters, and it's going to be the developers are the ones that are going to have the access to the supply market that another installer may not know. So that's another reason to go the way you're going.
And is Verigy fit into that group that you think is a large, relatively long-lived company?
Yeah, I do, because they've got a very good pedigree behind them. If you take a look at the projects that they've worked on, they've worked primarily in eastern Connecticut and northern Connecticut, which is why we haven't dealt with them directly, because we've been primarily with companies in Fairfield County and western Connecticut. But if you're looking at statewide, yeah, absolutely, they're part of that group that's going to be around for a while. And Adam's group, very solid. They presented very well to us in Newtown. As I said, it's just that we already had consultants on board that we were happy. That's the only reason we didn't bring Adam to town, but otherwise we would have.
And the reference we got were very good. Correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
Right, we checked the references, and they're mostly schools and municipalities, and the references were very, very good for Verigy and Titan across the board. So that we have a comfort level there that they have the experience and the background and the history to do this and do this well. And they've done rooftop projects, they've done field projects, they've done parking lot projects, right? And you run into things like an abandoned septic system. Yeah, you might run into a field, and then you drill through the field to put your stanchions in. If you run into a distribution box, that's a different
Yeah,
story.
as a public works guy, those are just things to overcome.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
As I say, as a public works guy, you get used to running into problems like that. It's just something you've got to be flexible and you figure a way around it.
Right, right. But I don't think it affects the overall viability of the project. because, digging a hole a little bit deeper or moving a stanchion a little bit is not going to stop a project. And we'll have all completely designed systems, which will be approved by our fire marshal, our building inspectors, and everything, and, all our building officials. This will go through the normal process that we have to ensure we have safe, reliable
The other
systems.
thing, Steve, that's part of this process
Yeah,
is that there has to be a structural review that meets state codes.
right.
So it's a pretty rigorous review that has to be adhered to in order to participate in this particular solar program.
Right.
One other just thing I would add too, sorry to interject you, but I think it's very important as it relates to the parking lot. There'll be a very thorough geotech study as well in that parking lot.
Okay.
Basically the equivalent of what you would do for a rooftop project, have a third-party engineering group do a thorough study on that ground before anything happens.
Yeah, that's good. And it should be understood that each of these projects is a one-off. We can do CLES by itself, we can do the Wisconsin if we move the roofing projects up by itself, or we can do the parking lot by itself. And if we run into problems, we can move forward with the other ones. So there's a lot of flexibility here. There was a concern, someone mentioned it at the Board of Finance meeting, about decommissioning. The decommissioning is in the contract, it is in the, essentially what I would call the ground lease, the lease that they give us. And we have our legal team looking at this very, very carefully to make sure that everything is exactly as we need it. And we have the assurances in the documentation that Verigy will perform to the level that they've set. Any further comments, Bob? Great. Fred, thank you. Adam, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Have a good night.
Hey,
Okay,
my
Thank you,
pleasure.
everybody.
Thank you.
Very much
Good luck with
appreciate it.
this.
thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Great, thank you. Oh, glad we got that working. Technology.
Kind of.
Yes, kind of. Yikes. Does either of you gentlemen have anything you would like to add to this conversation? We have Julian Capados, our purchasing agent, and Greg Dembowski, our project manager, here with us.
No, I've got nothing to add at this point.
Yep.
I'll just
Great.
make one comment.
Yeah.
We said this to the Board of Finance and our first Board of Selectmen. The analysis and recommendation we made was on economics. We presented the highest payback options to you. The issue of cosmetics and property values.
We're not.
When we did the analysis, it was purely on the best payback for the town.
Right.
I understand and respect, I'm a resident too, all those other issues, but
Yeah.
that recommendation was purely economics.
Right. That's understandable. And we have to work through that. Okay. Okay. Bob, do you have any further comments?
I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
Do you mind if I throw questions at you?
No, you can.
Because you
try.
guys, and you guys should come sit at the table.
Yeah,
You
come
might be able to-
join us.
You might be able to. So let me just start with process questions. So I've heard in our last discussion that there's an urgency to get an approval from the Board of Selectmen because there's a filing deadline of some sort. What is the deadline that we're dealing with?
September 15th.
September 15th.
And what is that for, though? Is that to come to a contract, or is it to do an application, or what is it?
Essentially, if we miss the September 15th deadline, we lose any
The incentives.
payback. We lose the incentives, and then it won't work.
But what are we doing on the 15th of September? I mean, we're not signing the contract at that time, or are we?
We would be signing, yes, we would be signing the, what do they call it, the bill credit contract. But I mean, none of this happens if they then suddenly discover that it's
Yeah.
physically not viable.
So we would sign a contract with Verigy for their services and also a ground lease, right, for the equipment to be placed in the various areas.
So do we have to make the decision which of the three projects we're doing by the 15th of September?
Well, no. What I would suggest, we apply for all three projects. We could always step back.
Do we have a
from-
full right to back off if we?
We do, yes.
So this checks a box is what it
Yeah,
does.
this checks a box. It means we've got a foot in the door so that we can take advantage of the NRES incentives.
The NRES is the federal government,
non-residential.
federal government incentive?
Yes.
Okay, and those are going away if we don't apply by the
They go
15th?
away.
They are going away.
And it was that part and parcel of the bidding, that would be, that the pricing that we got in the bidding is tied to getting those incentives?
Correct, it is. Yeah, if we don't get this thing done by the 15th, then we may as well tell them.
tear up everything and start again.
Yeah, we would have to start again because the incentives are about 30 to 35% of
But
the
I think
total
it's
cost
the,
of
to be honest, I'm not an expert in this,
Yeah.
and we put perhaps should have kept adding for this, but it's, I believe it's to do with the ITC,
Yeah,
which, yeah, whatever it is, 35,
30% of the project cost. Yeah. The total project cost is about 5.2 million. Go ahead, Craig.
I just want to add, Bob, to your point on reviews and comments, we have to, for every location, we'll have to get a zoning permit. For the zoning permit, there's two types of zoning permits for these, if you go at all three schools. One's called a modification, and another one is a total design review. It is the opinion of several of us in land use, for the new school, you'll only need a modification to an existing permit because that building was built structurally for solar. That type of permit does not require a public meeting, a town meeting, a public meeting. For the high school, because solar was never envisioned when that school was built, that would require a design modification permit, which does require a public hearing. So there will be a zoning public hearing. All the budding property owners will be.
What is that?
Try to turn that off. Okay.
Whatever you did.
All the budding property owners
Are we
will
still
be.
being recorded? Okay, that's just a display. That sounds bad.
As an aside, this room is getting new video and recordings because of these kinds of problems. And this is quite good.
For the high school, it will require a design modification, which means all the budding property owners will get certified letters, and the public meeting will be publicly noticed.
So there'll be a public hearing for that?
For the high school.
There's a chance for the residents, the neighbors to do it before we would proceed?
Yes, and if zoning chose not to approve the permit, in the contract, we would not have to go, the contract allows us to not do it if the zoning permit is not issued.
So we will have a chance to have more discussion on that one in particular.
Yes.
CLAF maybe not, because it's good, but I don't think there's any issues with CLAF. I haven't heard that yet. So.
But the zoning commission decides which level of permit they would require when they get an application.
Okay. And then the Wisconsin project, is that the more complex one or the simple update one?
That's a question for,
That's
that's more complex.
Zoning would have to decide.
I believe because the building was never built for it, I don't know, I shouldn't speak. That's really a zoning commission decision.
Yeah, we'd have to have our building inspector would be looking at the structure of the building, making an initial, the zoning board would probably, my guess, ask us for both because that building wasn't built specifically for solar. And solar does add weight to a roof. The other issue we have there is we have over the next 5 years, in our 10-year capital plan and in the Board of Ed's, remember that plan they put forward to the town? They put together a 10-year capital improvement plan for all their schools, and in that is replacing all the roofing at Wisconsin. If we want to do Wisconsin, we're going to have to talk to the Board of Finance and get agreement amongst all the boards, including the Board of Ed, that we move those roofing projects forward. Do them sooner and perhaps do some other project later. We'd have to look at that. Again, these are individual projects. So I think in order to preserve our right to get the incentives, we should move ahead, file by September 15th. And then, as we go through the hearings, as we talk to the public, as we do the studies, as we do the structural studies, as we do the study, I forget what he called it, for the parking lot, it may turn out that that is not something that we want to do. But if we don't apply by September 15th, we might as well do nothing because we...
You can rip it up and you can start afresh, and the return won't be as good because that 30% helps manage that.
Yeah, the 30% really makes it worthwhile. I think if we didn't get that, we'd be looking at, I don't know.
I heard Fred say that, yeah, you could probably do a deal, right? But it won't, it's going to be much more challenging.
Right.
That's what I heard.
Right, much more challenging.
Okay. So second question. At our last meeting, we talked about going back to the Board of Finance and the Board of Education. You did both of those, as I understand it. Were there any follow-up questions from either of the boards that we needed to provide answers to?
Yeah, Brian Hoffman had asked about the cancellation, the decommissioning. He had a question about how he had sent us a question that, we're gonna get, I think he misunderstood it, is that he thought we were getting all of the electric $280,000 credit in the first year, and would the electricity being produced be enough to offset it, or could we take those electric credits and move them elsewhere? The cost for the first year, they amortize it over many years, and that's on Verige's side. So this produces, the solar system at the school produces what percentage of the total usage of the school? It's a pretty,
It's, well, it varies by each location.
yeah, but at the school, let's just talk about the high
At
school.
the high school, it actually generates quite.
Like
The high
85
school
and-
uses 1.3 million a year, which they
Right.
did last year, and this system would generate 1.1 million kilowatt hours.
So almost the full use. In an average year, an average sunshine, average snow cover, average cloud cover, right? They take all those calculations into effect.
And that 280,000 equates to what we paid for electricity at the high school last year, which happened to be 285, so it's
Right,
in
right.
the ballpark.
Right. Yeah, and the offset is for the high school project, it's 3.75 cents per kilowatt hour
Correct.
that they would pay us, but it's paid each year as it's incurred. They absorb the cost of building the system, installing it, amortizing it, deciding what IRR they want, right? We can look at all those numbers, and they seem reasonable. Their IRR on that is 7.9%, which I think is reasonable given the risks that they're taking. So, yeah, and we're answering all those questions.
So I want to go back to my question. So you went to the Board of Finance, and obviously there were some questions there. Have we formally answered them, or are we in the process of answering them, or?
We're in the process of answering them. I will have something out to Brian. He was the only one that sent additional questions. I'll have something out to him probably Tuesday. We're just checking that one thing with Adam, how he was calculating that 280,000. We will make sure we get it right.
And then the Board of Ed, I was at that meeting, I didn't hear any questions that
I
they
didn't
asked
either.
you to follow up on.
No, and as we move forward with this, we're gonna involve all the boards, right? To say, here's what we plan to do, what's your input, right? Do you have a concern? Do you have an issue? Do you want us to change anything? Is there any concerns that you have? We wanna do this as a collaborative.
So, next question was the bidding process. So, I'm gonna aim this at you. How close were the bids? In your view, because you do a lot of these bids, how competitive were the bids? Were they going at it hard, or were they a big spread, or how, in your view, were they stressed to get the best price out there?
Well, I'll begin by with the premise that I think I'm quite a smart guy, and I did not understand. That's why we needed Adam.
Adam, right?
They all looked very different. For a start, Verige came in with 6 different proposals for each location.
Oh, wow.
Front of meter, behind the meter, PPA, purchase, financed. And understanding all those numbers was a mug's game. And it took Titan several days to do their own analysis on each one. So I'm going to throw my hands up and say I really didn't understand those bits.
So let me ask the question differently. So as you engaged with Titan, because that's what we hired them to do,
Yeah.
right? What was your sense of their reaction to the bids? Did they feel like that everybody was putting together aggressive bids, or?
There was some that actually came in with a negative return.
Negative return?
Yeah.
Wow.
There was no hesitation at all. They revamped some of Verige's numbers because Verige came up with certain assumptions like Eversource bills are going to go up by 3% every year. They may not. So Titan went in more conservatives and said 1.5% a year. And they tweaked other things. So they came, I don't know if you remember, but the potential benefit over the life of the high school project is $700,000. If we did behind the meter, they were saying we might make 2 million. But that 2 million soon erodes when you start taking into account will Eversource really go up by 3% every year? You know, will it generate as much as they say it's going to generate? Things like that.
We have to maintain the equipment, we have to.
No, not that would still be
No,
under a
no.
PPA arrangement.
Oh.
So they would handle the whole thing.
Yeah. So Titan's recommendation to us was for the most risk-averse, right?
Correct.
And what they consider to be the best option for Brookfield. We had Fred at Newtown, he looked at all of them, and he agreed that that was the best offer to the town. And two, based on two bids he's done recently, the pricing was right where it should be. Right? It's very comparative to what they've been offered on two projects.
Okay.
So I have a comfort level from that.
All right, so the next question, and was the Board of Finance interested in reviewing any of all this detail, all the different options and
They
things
did.
like that? They did look at it?
Yeah,
They looked at
we sent it to them.
all of the bids. Brian did a lot of work with doing NPVs and stuff on this, because again, sometimes they talk in real numbers, but you really need to NPV it forward.
Right, because you're talking about a long period of time.
20
too,
years,
right?
yeah. I mean, you know, I did some calculations that if we financed it ourselves, we'd be looking at about $500,000 worth. This was on a 3.2 million system, about $500,000 worth of interest over the life of the project,
Yeah.
which is, you know, the lost opportunity cost.
Yeah, the opportunity cost. Yeah.
Okay, timeline. So if we sign this in order to get our foot in the door on the incentives, right? I think you just both told me that we're gonna have to go through zoning reviews, and that's gonna take a little time to go through that. I'm guessing they have to do their engineering work before that we can even get through zoning, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
So, what's your sense when you talk to Titan about how long that, but, you know, when is the go, no-go date? Is it
The go-
2 months
the go,
out?
no-
Is it 6 months out? Is it a year out?
We have to have, what do they call it, substantially 5% of the project underway by July 1st next year, 2026.
26, okay.
If that doesn't happen, then all bets are off.
And would that include the engineering spend?
My understanding is that 5% of the project can be spent on the solar panels.
Yeah.
So they could be stuck in a warehouse, you've spent 5%, you've committed
Got it.
to the,
The IRS has passed this ruling on the 5%, but they haven't yet issued specific guidance about that 5%. Is this not included? Is engineering costs included? They haven't said that, so we would want to be, and I'm sure they're gonna clarify that as we go along.
And if they spend money on doing the engineering work and we walk away on any of these projects for any particular reason, is the town liable for anything?
now you've got me. That's really a Tom question.
I don't know the answer to
We
that.
need to make sure we know what that answer
Yeah.
is. So, now, Steve, a question for you, and it's a general question. The town's not spending any money on this, so is it really a Board of Selectmen decision? Or is it, I mean, because it strikes me that this is sort of decision first Selectman could have made. But I'm glad you're actually bringing it to the boards. to tell you
Yeah,
the truth.
yeah. No, you know-
But I'm just curious what the protocol is.
You know, technically, this is an operational decision on the part of the town. We are not spending a dime of the town's money on this, right? So
We're
I
using the
guess we
facility.
could.
We're using the facility.
We're using the facilities, but I'm charged and Ralph and Sheldon and are charged with maintaining our buildings and keeping them in great shape. So I think you could make the argument that the town could make this decision on our own. I don't think that's the right way to go. I think we should get all the boards involved that we can and get as much input as we can, because it's a big decision. And it's a 20-year decision.
And we have some time to actually
We
continue
do.
that discussion,
We
it
do.
sounds like.
Just stepping back to that previous question, what I do know is, if, for instance, they survey the parking lot at the high school, discovered the septic is just a deal breaker, excuse me, and you just cannot build
Right.
the arrays on that, all of that is on Verigy. What I can't tell you for sure is if they go through everything, they've got design plans, they're ready to go, and suddenly we turn around and say, you know what, we've thought better of it, we don't want this.
Yeah, I'll have to check that.
That I need to check. But yeah, like I say, if it turns out the project's not viable, and they've already spent money on it, it's on them.
It's on them. So and is that, the high school parking lot, I heard two different words. Is it a septic field, like leach field's the way I think of my house, or is it a septic tank that's under there?
My understanding it is septic fields that were abandoned when we redid the high school
sewer.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
We redid the sewer.
Seems-
So again, the
seems
engineering
high-
will tell us.
Seems high for a field, because
Yeah.
where would the septic be?
Yeah, but when you abandon, we had this issue on a property where somebody has an easement, and they're abandoning their old septic system, and part of their easement is on another person's property. They have an easement, and they will have to go in and check that and remove that and return it back to normal. If there's a distribution tank, you're gonna either have to crush it or remove it, so it will not break in the future, and some kid falls through it. So I would think, we can check it, that when this was abandoned 20 years ago, it had to go through that process to make sure it wouldn't be safe. Some kid's car is not gonna fall through a septic tank
Yeah.
because it's 60 or 70 years old. We'd check that.
All right, so that's the end of my process questions. I have one question for each location that were just kind of tactical questions. So, starting with CLES, which is the most obvious one to proceed with. We don't have the CO on that yet. Do we need the CO in order to proceed? And is there anything standing in our way on getting that CO?
Yeah, we would need the CO. The building, our building department wants that CO issued before they would issue the permits for this project. There are two things that we're holding it up. One is sprinklers that go from, in the
Those are the
main
ones
hall
around the
in,
garage door thing?
around the garage door thing. That's already been fixed.
Okay.
That's been fixed. There is a question about two steps. The fronts of the step are rough. They're like rough if you
Oh, those
chisel
are
them.
those ones at the bottom of the main stairwell?
Yes,
Okay.
and those still have to be addressed, one way or the other. But we can get that done well before this project starts to go on the roof and get the CO. And those are the two things that we're
And
holding
can,
up the
just
CO.
on that one, can we dictate that they would do the construction installation in the summer months? Is that something,
I
or do
think
we,
so.
or are we at their beck and call?
I don't know, I don't know
Now
what,
you're
we don't
testing
have
my
a
knowledge on
plan yet.
Yeah.
I think as long as we've got the
Steve, keep your eye
5%.
on, keep your eye on that one
Yeah.
for talking about the contract. I don't wanna
Mhm.
have them saying, oh, I'm coming in middle school year
Yeah, we don't,
and doing construction on your roof.
yeah,
Right?
because we couldn't do the parking lot during the school year.
No, I'm not, I'm on CLAS.
Yeah, I know,
I'm
but
on
even,
CLAS.
we don't want anybody in any
So,
housing.
on the middle school project, it strikes me that there was a huge cross-dependency on the roofing projects that are in the 10-year plan,
Yep.
which I think we've done, I want to say 2 years of
Yeah,
that so
yeah,
far.
Yep.
So there's 8 more years. Some of them have been approved already, others are ahead of us.
Mhm.
Have we gone through, or has the Board of Ed gone through a detailed look at what needs to be done when in order to do this project, or is it, that's still a piece of work ahead of
That's
us?
a piece of work ahead of us,
Okay.
and we knew that.
There is, I keep forgetting whether it's 2027 or 2028, where these projects have to be up and running.
Yeah.
I think it's,
I think it's
I think we've got-
2028.
I think it's 28, July 28. So we've actually got quite a buffer. Once we've made this 5% investment, July 2026, then we have basically 2 years to complete these projects.
Yeah, I know, but that's easy to say, but as you know, these things need, they need to go out to RFP, they need to, there's a whole bidding process, there's a whole engineering process. So my experience is roofing projects, you approve the money, and 2 years later, you might be working on installing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially when you're on schools, when you can really only do that work in the summer.
This is something, yeah.
So I think I mean, of all the things
This can be-
that this needs before we go too far down the path, that needs a hard look.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sold that we can pull it off. They have one guy running all the capital projects, and he's already overloaded. And I don't know how you would pull off a full re-roofing project at Wisconsin. You'd basically have to go this coming year to get the approval and the money, and then be a full-out dash to get it done,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless they can do it in phases, right, and
Right.
get, you get this half of the school done, because then we get the roofs on that, but it needs a really hard look.
Yeah, and we have to
And we
sit
haven't done
down
that
with the
yet.
capital committee and the board of finance if we want to move things around, and then a discussion
It starts
with
with,
Dan Caldwell from
it
the
starts
school.
with the school staff and the school board.
Right, right,
So-
and see if it's a, Wisconsin is the least viable, in my opinion, right now,
Cool.
given the roof situation. But each of these projects is independent of each other, so if we'll try hard to see if we can get it in under, but if we can't, and we're not comfortable, we just won't do it, right? And we could probably get a good idea of this is viable in the next few months if we get everybody on it to look at those
Steve,
roofs.
I'm a little nervous with what I heard earlier,
Mhm.
which is, we don't know whether the contract lets us walk if we can't actually
Right.
do it, right? And this is one that would be on us, right, to do it. So we have to look at the contract and make sure that, on that one in
I
particular,
agree.
because I would hate to have a situation where they go spend a bunch of money to do engineering
Yeah.
work, and then we say we can't get the roofs done, and they say, well, you're gonna have to pay for my engineering work, right?
Yeah.
That would not make sense to me.
We'll have that
I would
discussion.
make sure that at the very least, it's gone through Casey over in the schools
And their facilities.
and to the facilities committee on the Board of Ed, well, long before you're, even if it's a placeholder signing contract, to get our foot in the door, right, we need to get that done. And then the comment earlier that we're rushing through it, I think I understand why we're pushing hard, because we're gonna lose this opportunity to get this incentive.
Right.
But at the same time, there's a risk here, right, and we gotta manage that.
And if we
have
can't
Tom
make it
review-
work, then
Tom is reviewing this, and he's aware of the fact that some of the projects may not happen.
right.
For one, whether it's for aesthetic reasons or for structural reasons. And we've no idea whether Wisconsin roof can even hold these things.
Yeah.
It
And
might-
are they actually executing on the roofing projects that we approved in the last couple of years?
we've,
I think the gym was first up,
so the
if I remember.
so the gym where has the nice new wall, just behind that there's two minute bits of roof that have been done, and then the rest of it, there's some that is not even in the plan. I don't know whether that's because it's relatively new, but yeah, it's a mess up there, to be honest.
Well, do we know if the roofing projects that have actually been executed on or are in process of being executed on are also including getting the conduits in to be solar ready?
I'm afraid I don't know.
Okay. I wouldn't
I mean,
want to do
the last-
any school roof projects without getting the conduits in,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to rip the roof up again.
No, you can't.
You told me,
can't.
Steve,
Absolutely
that
right.
these things are actually, the things are ballasted.
Right.
They're actually just sit on top of the roof with big ballasts on them, as opposed to actually drilling into the roof. I think that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
But the conduits where the power, the connections to the inverters go, that's a big deal.
Yep.
So,
I mean, the last RFP that I did on Wisconsin was for engineering works. We haven't gone out to bid for the contractors.
to my first point, right? To my first point, it takes time. And,
It does take
and Dan is overwhelmed with a number of projects we're throwing at him. So,
Yeah.
all right, and then on the high school, I actually went over to Ridgefield today, by the way, to look at their installation, because that's the one we heard was the one that went bad at all, to tell you the truth. It's, they're big, tall things. I can see it. You can get snow plows under it pretty easily. A little modern looking, so it's not rustic in any way, but somebody called it ugly. It wasn't ugly at all, to tell you the truth. The question I have on the high school is an engineering question, which is, how do we get through before we go to contract? That I don't want to have a situation where they say you never told us about something in the bidding process, and therefore everything's off on the floor again, or so this whole discovery of the fields.
So as Adam discussed,
That's
they
just
do
a
a
problem to
full
overcome.
engineering review on site
After we sign the contracts?
after we sign the contracts to apply.
Yeah.
And then, if it doesn't work, if it's unsuitable soils, whatever it is, remember the unsuitable soils that we're at Kennewood Lake Elementary School, if for some reason it's not viable, then we both walk away, right?
Yeah.
And that risk is on them, right? Because they can't build what we contracted them to build,
Yeah.
right?
And is there any, what input have we gotten from our team on the risk of snow melt and refreeze?
I will refer back to my conversations with Rudy Marconi, who had told me 2 years ago that their parking lot had been in place for 3 or 4 years under the Z-Rex system. So I don't know where somebody got the idea that these were just installed, because they were installed, he told me 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, that they were in for a few years. He said they do have water that drips down, they do sometimes have to salt additionally, right, for that. Snow does sometimes cascade down, but they come to the center, and that snow cascades down into the middle. Unless somebody's car was past their parking spot, it might land on their car. There might be times when, because they're a little angled, right?
But they weren't that way, actually. There was just one big sloping roof, interestingly enough, that was covered both sides, so it was.
Oh, they just did one roof both
They didn't go to
ways?
the middle, they kind of just did one
Oh, I
big
thought it
sloping
was like
roof,
this.
one side higher than the other.
Okay.
And so if there was snow melt, it would go out into the main part of the driving
Right.
area, which I actually think is worse than the middle, but it's.
So we have to
because
see
that's
what
where
the
kids
engineering-
drive. Right.
We all face this on our own roofs, right? I park under my garage, and sometimes I think that solar panels are slipperier than my roof,
Yeah.
but there have been many projects. There's one down in the Berkshire Corporate Park, that first building up on the left, it's all solar over the parking.
So do we have, is all of the engineering work that we're doing, especially at the high school and the middle school, the engineering's already done, I think, at CLES. Is that
Yes.
in-house people that we would be relying on, or is that the supplier or?
No, that would be very, that'd be.
That'd be Verigy?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, that's all the questions I had. That was helpful. Thank you, guys.
That's a good question.
To me, I'm just gonna give you my 2 cents. I think we ought to, there's some, if we're gonna lose a 30% tax credit, that would then completely change it. If we can sign these contracts without great risk to the town, we should. Because I don't wanna lose an opportunity. But I think it's important, so there's some people who asked for it, that we have very public notices on, when we're doing zoning
Yeah.
reviews and when there's new news. Much like we've been doing with the compressor station and the cell tower, we ought to have it on our agenda every month. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Board of Finance and the Board of Education and
Give them
the
updates.
Energy Commission all ask for a regular update
Yeah.
at their meetings.
Yeah.
And that would make sense to me, that we do it.
I
Give
agree.
different constituents groups who have a chance to see what's
I
going
agree.
on. Do it, but I would hate to lose an opportunity if we're convinced it's not adding a lot of risk to us financially.
And the urgency, I take the point that's been made by various people that it looks like we're rushing into this. The urgency is to apply for the NRES program. If we don't do that, that's what blows it all out of the water. We're not going to start putting arrays up in the high school parking lot by the end of September. That's just not going to be the way it works. But we do have to get into this program, and that's what the 15th of September.
And you have to sign a contract with Verigy to get into the program?
Yes. And we've got all of the contract paperwork with Tom.
And Tom is very good at protecting the town and writing contracts and asking for changes.
And he's on a calendar to get that review completed.
Yes.
Before you would have to sign it.
Yeah.
Now, if I got this motion that we put on the table, it says that we approve it for up to the 3 projects, right? And authorize you to sign all the paperwork.
Right.
That's basically the gist of it.
Right. Which is pretty typical for these sorts of things.
Yep. I'm okay. I'm done with my questions.
Okay, good. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add? No? Okay, great. So I don't have any further comments. All those in favor of moving forward?
Aye.
Aye. So that's 2-0. Note Ms. Carr is absent, so she did not vote. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Sorry for all the questions,
No,
but I think that's my job.
Ask him now. Ask him now.
absolutely is your job. Okay, so Aaron, tell us about vaccination clinics. If anybody doesn't aware, Aaron Salin is our Director of Health and has been doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. Try. I'm here tonight because we, as the health department, want to partner with Stop and Shop. What I mean by Stop and Shop is their pharmacy department. The reason is because we would like them to come and implement a vaccine clinic for our town residents, open to public, and that will also include our town employees and also senior center members, our elderly. The reason why we went with Stop and Shop, there's a specific reason. It ended up being Stop and Shop because they reached out to us directly, or directly to me back in spring, because they were already in communications with different health departments in different towns. So they were calling all other towns to partner with and implement a vaccine clinic for their town. That's the reason why I'm here. And as director, I want to partner with them. I'm looking for their approval for that. I do believe that it's a win-win for the town because we as a town, we would not have any financial requirement, exposure, any liability. All the entire operation will be implemented by Stop and Shop, including staffing and so forth.
And you planning to have 2, one here and one at the senior center?
Correct. We want to have it in 2 different dates. One would be for general public, which also will include the town employees. And the second date will be a separate just for senior centers. For our
And
other
the vaccines they would be offering are the flu vaccine?
It all depends on whichever you want. They can provide whatever you want, but we want to keep it basic.
Right.
We want to have them access to flu, COVID, RSV, just big ones at the moment.
And no other pharmacy has offered to come on site and help us.
That's
We
correct.
have a lot of
That's
seniors
correct.
ask, hey, are you gonna have the clinics like you had
This-
in the past?
That was one of the interesting reasons why we want to partner with them, because they actually offered it to us. They said we can come to you as long as you can just provide a space for us, and we can just
They'll
do
do
the
it.
entire
And they work
operation.
with the individual's insurance?
Yep.
They do. Unfortunately, this one is insurance-based model. What I mean by that is basically any individuals, including town employees or general public, who wants to be vaccinated, they can come, but they would have to be insured. So the Stop and Shop will charge their insurance.
And if there's a copay or something like that?
If there's a copay or if there's any conflict even afterwards with their insurance company,
It's between the individual and
it
their
would
insurance?
be it would be actually between Stop and Shop and the insurance.
Oh, okay.
They did indicate specifically to me that they will not go after the town or the resident. And if they're not successful with the insurance, then they're going to consider it as part of business. What else? So yeah, we will not have no liability for the town. It's zero cost to town, open to public, and it is actually just voluntarily, meaning that it is not mandatory for any resident to feel like they need to be vaccinated. If they want to be vaccinated, they can more than welcome to. If they do not want to, that's okay.
And the option for people who's like, I've done this, you have to go down to CDS, stand in line.
That is correct.
get your shots
It
there.
is, so, one of the also interesting
your
points of this
doctor's
is basically increasing the accessibility for vaccines.
Right. Especially for our seniors, I think.
Correct. And location of the town hall is more convenient than driving down to Federal Road, to Walgreens or CVS. And most of the time, it may not be as convenient for them to as coming to the town hall.
So they come in for the entire day to the
Yep.
2 locations?
Yep.
They do everything, they set
They,
up?
they will set up. They will.
take the
They,
insurance.
it will be their employees or nurses. Insurances set up the
Right.
billing system. It's all up to them. The only thing that we're doing as a town, we
Give
will
them
be
a
doing is
location.
give them a location or a space, which in this case will be the room 133.
You've done vaccine clinics here before, correct?
We have done that during COVID. Pre-COVID, from my investigation, because I wasn't here pre-COVID, but RVNA was conducting that. However, RVNA does not do that anymore.
Right.
The only time that RVNA will do it if it was just for kids vaccination. And the catch up for that is because they get the vaccination for free for kids
Yeah.
from the state.
Yeah. RVNA is a Ridgefield Visiting
Yeah, I know
Nurse
that.
Association.
We did-
Just for people.
We
who
did
don't
try to, the first year that I took over the department, I did reach out to RVNA to do this with RVNA. It was impossible
know. Yeah,
because of funding issues.
okay.
Because they don't have the grants, they don't have the funding at the state level or at the federal level that covers the cost of vaccination. There are grants that covers the operation. However, when it comes down to purchasing vaccines, there is no grant that covers it.
Gotcha.
So it's gonna be out of pocket, or the town has to meet it.
Yeah, and quite a few people have said to me, you know, you had the COVID vaccination clinics, we had them at St. Joe's.
Correct.
It worked really,
Yep.
really well. We had a person from Branford drive up here because they couldn't get the vaccination
I
anywhere
think
else. It worked really well.
correct.
So people are kind of, once you set the bar,
Yep,
They want it, they want to come.
they want it.
they want to
We
come.
did have lots of calls after the COVID, when the funding ended with the state and federal, who were asking, can I get a shot? Can I get a vaccination for flu or COVID? The answer was no to them because we didn't have the funding to conduct or operate.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I think it's a win for our residents. I think we just,
I don't see,
We
I
will-
don't know, when would they come?
We are already, we're in the talks. We have one date that's already, I believe, established, will be October 9th. It should be a Thursday. That's the first
Would
date.
it include flu?
It would, yes. It would include flu, most like. It's definitely gonna include flu. We're gonna try to also have access to COVID and RSV.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because, you know, you want to intercept the flu shots before.
Right,
flu
exactly,
season
and that's the
starts,
goal.
so.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Okay.
And we will have a second date for the our elderly for the senior center.
and we'll advertise it across the town, our social media,
That's
get
correct.
it out there.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, we will, and there will be an agreement between the town and them. I guess I may need approval from you guys on that as well, which will be is for signing those agreements or any kind of MOU.
Yeah,
A representative that will sign it. I want to do that if that's okay with you
Yeah.
guys, but it will be up to you guys to decide.
if they
on
get the
that.
agreement, we'll have our town attorney look at it. I don't think this would be, since there's no cost on our part, this should be a very straightforward
Sure.
simple agreement.
Exactly.
Probably more liability.
Yeah,
Does the
exactly.
board-
Exactly.
Does
Does the
Exactly.
Board of Selectmen need to approve that?
No, not really, but I'd like to have your approval of that agreement.
Well, I'd love to put a motion on the table to
Okay.
authorize you to sign any agreements. on
Okay,
this.
cool. And I will run it by Tom as well.
Yeah.
Anything that's said to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Great. No, thank you, I really appreciate it.
So I'd like to make a motion relative to this item to authorize the first selectman to sign any agreements after legal review to support this program.
I'll second that.
Awesome.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Aaron,
Awesome.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks.
Okay, now we move on to our, Well, the community will be Saturday the 27th from 9 to 10 at the new Brookfield Market and Deli located at 277 Whiskey Road. Again, we urge people to sign up for Spotlight newsletter and the Everbridge emergency notifications at brookfieldct.gov. Click on subscribe icon. Drivers are needed for the FISH program, Friends in Service here. FISH of Brookfield is a not-for-profit, all-volunteer driving service that provides free, transportation to and from medical appointments for ambulatory, disabled, and/or senior citizens, senior residents who do not have any means of transportation. If you want to do that, you can get more information. You can call 203-775-5308 or email Amy Deesman at adeesman@brookfieldct.gov. She is the director of the Senior Center, and her contact details are also on the town website. Vacancies on boards and commissions: on Art Commission, 1 member; Building Code of Appeals, 1 member; Commission on Aging, 1 member open, 1 alternate member available; Energy Advisory Board, 1 member; Inland Wetlands Commission, 1 member and 2 alternate members; Municipal Building Committee, 1 member and 1 alternate; Police Commission, 2 members; WPCA, 2 alternate members; Youth Commission, 3 alternate members; and the Zoning Board of Appeals, 1 alternate member. That's what's available. Monthly financial updates, since Marcia is downstairs. We just had one 2.5 weeks ago, so we don't have a financial update.
It's also
but
early in the year.
And everything is just fine so far. And we'll, if anything came up, we would obviously tell you guys immediately. The next item, we already did the solar project. At the August 4th meeting, we had the approval of the registrar's of voter emergency plan. We made a motion, well, let me make the motion, that the board approve the registrar of voters' local emergency operations plan for elections updated August 26, 2025.
Second.
Second. There was concern, Ms. Carr raised an issue of the cameras and the ballot box, and it was a reasonable concern, and we went back and we checked.
To be clear,
Yeah, go ahead.
she referenced a specific new law that had been passed,
Right.
That she wanted to make sure we were in compliant with it. It happened
Right.
to cover those topics,
Right.
but it was actually a recently passed law.
Right, so I went and I gathered our IT, our registrars, our town clerk, myself, our building supervisor, facilities manager, we all met, and we have come up with a plan that meets or exceeds every single one of the law's requirements.
Excellent.
Every single one. And we're very comfortable with the way it works. There are parts of it that are, we're not gonna advertise because it is a security issue, but it is good, and everybody is pleased with it and comfortable that it will work and meet the law,
Excellent.
right?
That was what they asked for.
That's what we asked for.
And did they have to update the emergency operations
We
plan to
did,
reflect that?
they did change some of the language, right?
To line up with the law?
Yeah,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carried 2. The next one is a very expensive one, the Connecticut Fair Plan Grant. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the submission of the grant application for the purchase of digital camera and related accessories in our fire marshal's office. Do I have a second?
Second.
The fire marshal can apply for this grant up to $500 each year for equipment, and he has asked us to do that. He wants to spend approximately $417, so that's what he'd actually apply for. This is a grant that's available every year, and I think we should approve it. I don't think it's very controversial.
I have no questions.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carries 2-0. On the planning and zoning merger ordinance, let me make a motion and we can discuss it. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen schedule a public hearing on October 6, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in Meeting Room 133 at Town Hall to hear public comment on proposed changes to the ordinances of the Town of Brookfield to address changes resulting from the merger of the Planning and Zoning Commissions into a combined Planning and Zoning Commission, all effective on December 1st, 2025, and being the following. If it's okay, I won't read every single one of those.
But they're in the.
As noted in here. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. For discussion purposes, planning has ordinances, zoning has ordinances. We have gone through with Tom Beecher, Curtis, the head of zoning, and Scott, the head of planning, to look at all the ordinances, see where they cross over, see where they match, see where they need to be changed. Tom Beecher has reviewed this and said this is how we should do it. So these are just updating to meet the new planning and zoning commission. Any questions?
And the motion is just to set a public hearing.
Right, and then we would vote on it
Let's
after.
vote.
Right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting is set. Opioid settlement agreement, I make a motion that the board approve the exception of the opioid agreements and authorize First Selectman Steve Dunn to sign all documentation as needed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. So on this, There are numerous lawsuits being pursued by federal and state attorneys general. There have been 3 or 4 of them already, and in this case, there are proposed agreements with Purdue Sackler family for about $6.5 billion, and then there is another suit involving about 7 different companies that have agreed to settle. And what happens is the federal government collects the money. It's usually payable over 15 to 20 years. They then distribute it to the states, then the states distribute it to each municipality, usually based on a per capita basis. And so we just need to, if we want to join the suit, the general settlement, we just have to agree to do that.
And if we don't join?
We would have to hire lawyers and sue them ourselves.
Okay. Do we get a lot of money out of these things?
We've got about $80,000 so far in the
Wow.
first year. It will go down year to year. But
Is
yeah,
that,
we
is that what we used to pay some of the salary of
Yeah.
our,
Ben.
of
Yes.
them? Yeah, okay.
And now we have $35,000 that I've asked Ben and people to get together and tell us what we should spend the opioid settlement money on. It's very particular. We,
Can you repeat? We just couldn't hear. We could do.
Oh, I'm sorry, in the last 2 budgets, we've had some money that cover, we have a social, what's his title?
social services manager.
Yeah, he's the guy who works with the police and the fire and ambulance and our social services team to go out and
And people in need.
help residents in need, and he's been
That's what-
wonderful, but we paid for part of his salary off of a fund, and I was just confirming that that's what the first
And
bids were. so.
In next year's budget, 100% of the salary will be paid just by the town, because we want to keep that position, we want to keep Ben, and we don't want one-time funding to pay for salaries. That gets a little scary.
So he would use this for maybe getting it to agencies that would be able to use it?
Yeah, they're going to come to us with a recommendation. Ben's going to head that up.
Okay, good.
And they'll probably come to us in October or November, because there's about $35,000 available right now that could be distributed. And the rules are very specific on how you can spend it.
Okay.
And we'll call that. Does that make sense? So we have a motion,
No questions?
no questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carries 2-0. Updates on the cell tower. We had an information hearing last week where representatives for Homeland Tower came in and made a presentation on the cell tower at the Brookfield High School auditorium. I would guess there were about 40, 50 people. Bob, would you guess? You were there.
Yeah.
That were allowed to make comments and ask questions. The issue here becomes, this is, I know we say this, and people, I had someone in my office yesterday asking me to please stop the cell tower. Unfortunately, I do not, and the town does not have that capability. The way the laws are written in Connecticut, the only entity that can stop a cell tower from being built is called the Siting Council. And they have full, complete control over the approval of placement of cell towers. The town can petition them and can talk to them and ask to be part of their hearings, which we will do. But anecdotally, they've had somewhat over 600 applications made to them. 590 have been approved, and the others have been approved with some modifications. Typically, if a cell tower was in a historic district, and they said, oh, can you move it here, or can you move it there? But they pretty much, if the cell tower company, the cell builder, and the cell providers, AT&T, Verizon, can prove that there's a need, and they have ways to do that, they show you coverage maps. If they can prove that there's a need in an area, the Siting Council approves the cell tower. On this, our fire, police, and EMS have all testified before the Board of Selectmen that the coverage in the northeast portion of Brookfield is not good. And that will, the Siting Council also weighs those things in. The cell tower is proposed for 42A Hidden Brook Road. That is a private property, and the owner of that property has entered into a private contract with Homeland and given them an easement to build the tower. We'll continue to work and try to ameliorate the effects of that tower. Some people believe there are health concerns. The Siting Council does not take health concerns into consideration at all. They rely on FCC documentation that has determined that cell towers do not harm human beings. So It's an uphill battle. It's gonna be very, very difficult. We're gonna support our residents on this. Bob, do you have anything you'd like to?
No, I actually thought the meeting was a good meeting because the Homeland Tower people earnestly responded to everybody's questions, and people asked good questions.
That's
So
true too. Yes.
It was not those things have a risk of becoming
Kind of getting away from you, but they
get
did.
away from either side, right?
Yeah.
Either the people asking the questions or the cell tower company, holding people at bay. Neither happened.
No, and I thought the representatives
Neither happened. It was very good. So.
did a very good job of answering the actual questions that were given. They didn't try to duck any questions.
Now, what I heard was there's like, once they haven't applied to the siting council yet, they
Not yet.
can't until late September, early October,
Yep.
given
Yep.
the required timelines.
Yep.
And once that starts, they said that it's 180 days, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And in there will be a public hearing, probably done by Zoom.
Yes, and we will request that public hearing.
We
and
should
request it be-
continue to ask that it be done in person here.
Yeah,
Even if they probably will say no, but we ought to
we
ask.
will. I much prefer it in person,
I
don't
do
you?
too.
Zoom is not great.
The siting council gets to decide where they're running their public hearing.
Yeah, they started doing Zoom during COVID, and they just kept it because it was easier for them, I think. Any further questions? Did I cover that pretty
I
well?
thought you did.
Iroquois gas compressor, we are applying for adjudicatory status. We have 62 signatures so far. We're looking for residents, the more residents we get to come in to my office, sign the petition for the adjudicatory hearing. We will send that out, we have until September 16th to send it in. We will send it in before then, overnight via certified mail so they know they have it. And if we have to, we'll send it in probably the 10th, 11th, or 12th, and we get more signatures after that, we'll just add them to it. So we ask people to come into my office. For people who aren't aware, DEEP has already issued a permit to Iroquois for this gas compressor station with none of the changes that we requested. And we requested that they use electric compressors. If you use electric compressors, you're not polluting the air at all. We asked for better security in the system. We asked, and this is really important, ambient air testing both before, during, and after on an ongoing basis, so we see exactly what's coming out of this. They now are only required to do stack testing, which allows them to test at their most efficient, right? They get the compressors up to temperature, they run them at 100%, and your car will run more efficiently at one speed versus another. And we just don't, and we're gonna push for that. And given that it's 1,800 feet from our school and it's 300-400 feet from a lot of our residents, what we're asking for seems reasonable to me. But
We have not asked for anything that's not unreasonable. And I keep saying it, they're a public agency who needs to look, their whole job is about looking after the public health.
yeah,
Right,
us,
so
our
this is,
residents.
and then they don't behave that way sometimes,
Yeah.
and I think that ought to be the theme that we are
Hit
hit them. But I've got to say that I really appreciate the coordination and cooperation between the residents of the public, the Sierra Club,
Yeah.
and your office in terms of continuing to move this forward in an organized way.
Thank you. So we'll keep
We've all
pushing.
been on exactly the same point,
Yep.
right, every step of the way. So I know that we got copies of some things that we need to go pay attention. I haven't had a chance to really read them in depth, but I think we ought to make sure we know exactly how to tick the boxes.
Yes, I will say one thing. So a gentleman came to my office and signed it, and I was walking out, and he said, "You're Steve Dunn?" I said, "Yeah, first off." He says, "I thought you were you were all for getting the gas compressor." And I said, "No." So, I was a little surprised by
Did they
that.
have to go, does everyone know that they have to come to your office and sign this?
As he's
Is
been
it
saying,
out
we've
there?
said it like 4 times, and it's on the website. It's up on the town website,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So come in my
Have you
office
posted
and
it on
sign.
your First Selectman Facebook too?
No, not
It's
yet.
on the back table if you'd like to sign it.
It's right here,
Oh,
if you
good.
want to sign
Right
it.
here.
Good.
We're taking it around, it's kind of like a little parade. Okay. So.
It's like the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it's like the Stanley Cup. You get to kiss it, can't put any drink in it. Okay. Let's move on to consent agenda. I make a motion that the selectmen approve items A to E on the consent agenda, which are the selectmen approval for routine matters, there's none this month, Board of Selectmen meeting minutes of 8/4/25, driveway bond releases of $750 each for 60 Old New Millville.
Don't read it.
Yeah,
It's on the-
you okay, we're fine with those, they're listed if you want to see. There are no excavation bond releases, no employee changes, and that would be.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Additional monthly agenda items, appointments. I would make a motion that the board appoint Maria Siegel as a member of the Arts Commission as recommended by the DTC with a term of 8/28/25 to 2/2/26. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Police Commission, I make a motion that the board appoint Scott Farrell as an alternate member of the Police Commission as recommended by the DTC with a term of 8/28/25 to 2/7/28. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For the Still River Greenway Ad Hoc Committee, I make a motion that the board reappoint Jay Annis, unaffiliated, Bowden Deco, Republican, James Deesman, Republican, Maureen Farrell, Democrat, and Jean Hartnett, unaffiliated, as members of the Still River Greenway Ad Hoc Committee with a term of 8/28/25 to 9/7/2027. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Just before you vote, is there a reason we're doing a mass?
They're all
renewal?
appointed at the same time.
And they're all expiring?
They're all
in-
expiring at the same
In
time.
September?
September 8th, I believe it is.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Okay, so this is just renewing the committee?
Yep, they're renewing the current members.
Okay.
Having no further business, I
No,
will
we
accept
have
the
to, now
motion.
we have to vote on that one.
Oh, yeah, I thought we just did.
No, you
All
did,
those
I
in-
didn't.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that carries. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody. See you guys. Thank you, Will.